Yeah, thank you everybody for having me today, and happy to share with you what we are doing and also give you a little bit more insights into stacks and tokenization, how it's playing a role, as Marche said, in regards to the overall blockchain world. And I don't want to make it like a boring company presentation, but also highlight where we come from, so you have a little bit better understanding on the perspective on the market we do have. So basically, myself and my co-founder, we have a very rich history and experience in the traditional institutional real estate investing. And in that regard, we have been setting up a larger platform in the financial markets, in the traditional financial markets, for institutional real estate investors and asset managers. So when you look at real estate investments, you can see that asset managers are those, or I define them as those who are managing the real estate assets on behalf of others. So they are like normal asset managers. They invest funds on behalf of others, and in that case, it's real estate. And what we have seen is that real estate is really like a last dinosaur because it's hardly digitized on a global scale, which means that the value chain, how they manage real estate, is hardly digitized. And especially when we look at how are you or somebody else buying real estate assets, it's not in a digital way, but it was completely manual like 20 years ago. And it didn't change even now after the pandemic, to a degree that we and the market participants say that's a new push into digitization, which everybody's talking about. So that's why we often like to refer to real estate as the last dinosaur of the markets. And why is that actually? Because the key players, the asset managers, like those who manage, and the investors, they're not very well connected. And in my experience building up this large platform for in the TradFi world, we have seen that especially asset managers and institutional investors, so both sides of the market, the one is creating the demand and the other one is creating the supply. So they are not very efficiently connected. And when we look at cross-border connections between institutional investors, retail investors, everybody like you and me, it would be very challenging to find a good real estate investment opportunity, let's say in Japan. If you look at yourself, you would have no clue how to get out and go to Japan and buy a real estate asset there from your home. So that's actually what the blockchain and all those tokenization players always say. Yeah, you can sit there with your phone and you buy assets and you become a real estate tycoon. But the reality looks a little bit different, unfortunately. So it's still very challenging because those investment opportunities are not there. Now, some of you will say, but there are also those REITs and these other kinds of investment products I can buy on the stock exchange, I can buy via my banking app. Yes, they are there, but most of them are only, or they are covering only a very, very small percentage of the market. And how they are structured is also most of the time not very beneficial for the investors itself, because the asset managers bring a pool of the assets into those investment structures, so it's regarded as the exit from actually their holding period, and then they make money on selling it to institutional investors as a pool. But not going too deep into that, because that's too much maybe for this for today. It's what I want to express is that it's a real big challenge to that the demand side finds the supply side in the market. And this is also a big opportunity when we look at all those big numbers which are circulated multiple times in all the media and in all the smart people speaking on social media about tokenization. Even sometimes the academic press, you can say, they are citing most likely the McKinsey study, the Boston Consulting study, with $1 trillion of tokenized assets by 2030. But To be honest, we at StegX and I myself, we have a little bit different view on the market development because we see that there's a huge potential that most of the assets who will be then issued, so which means newly created at the end of this decade, that they will likely be operated and administrated on the blockchain technology to a very, very large degree, if not the majority, if not all. Okay, that's very bullish, but the probability is not zero that all of the assets issued by then or created by then will be completely digital. And why is that? It's because we are seeing currently a huge movement of the financial markets, the TradFi world, but most likely the world which has not yet the access to the capital markets in a way that we in the developed world here in Western Europe have had in the last decade or decades, basically. So there are some huge market developments, and you can say also macroeconomic shifts, which started already in the 2010s when a few governments and jurisdictions have seen there's a new technology, the blockchain technology, which is like cool, nice, more safe, like all those buzzwords and the benefits you have heard a couple of times probably. Um, so they were thinking, okay, how can we use this technology, or how can we open up our our countries for this technology? And that was when the local regulators starting, like you can say, like a rat race, who's becoming the most crypto-friendly market. And at the pole position, there have been a few. Germany, where I am located, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, but also some others like Singapore. Today you heard maybe the news about Dubai. Um, um, Several others are coming now, like Brazil, Southeast Asia. So there are many countries and politicians who really push tokenization and the adoption of the blockchain technology, not of crypto, um, forward from opening up the regulations. And what this had as a result is that we have now an institutional kind of infrastructure in banks, but also in fintechs and other players in the market. And as well, we see that there's a development of having more and more stable coins issued by large players, PayPal, Ripple. They all bring out their own stable coins and new initiatives to use this new technology to get a piece of the pie in the payments market. But what does it mean? It's the digitization of money in the end. So the digitization of the money will mean, from my perception, that there's liquidity in the market. So people have digital money. They need to do something with that. They can buy goods or they can invest. So therefore, the investment purpose of this digital money will become more and more relevant in the second half of this decade from our perception. Since then, most of the CBDCs, so central bank digital currencies, will be firstly introduced to the large markets. Like it's already there in China with the EU1. We will see a digital euro coming. Brazil has some pilot projects now. So of those very, very large economies, you can say the five largest economies besides the US, everybody has very precise plans on how CBDC will be introduced in this decade. And this will lead to retail adoption, but also then, sorry, I need to press because it's somehow turning black all the time. And this will lead to retail adoption, but also to the tokenized economy where more and more people will have digital money available and they need to buy tokenized goods. And that's where we come into play and also other players who actually tokenize investment opportunities. And so today I will look not at the various, let's say, dystopian things about CTBCs, talking about the bad sides, and that's somebody else who can cover that. I will try to look at the good side. So what we see right now is how actually those digitization of money and assets is taking shape. So what we see currently in, I call it step one or today, is that traditional investment products and traditional investment vehicles like securities or investment funds, that they will become digital since they are going to be basically digitized with the help of tokenization, and we create hybrid assets. That means that, for instance, a security, instead of having a share register with somebody in an Excel file sitting in a dedicated intermediary who's only performing services like that, the blockchain can take over this role. And by taking over this role, the blockchain is serving as the ledger, as the basically the Excel file for the security, where everybody knows who is holding this kind of asset from a historic perspective. So once the asset has been issued, to then also in the end, when the transaction is going to happen between investors, when it's used in different kind of more and new introduced opportunities like DeFi and so on. So the step one is creating out of traditional financial instruments um, hybrid assets. And in step two, we see that native digital assets will become more relevant to the mass market. So those can be cryptocurrencies because you will need them to perform transactions on the blockchain networks. So every time you will do a financial transaction, buy something, as you probably all know, you will need the native token of this blockchain. So therefore, more people will need to use that. NFTs are already used widely besides monkey pictures and all those things which went a little bit downhill, to say the nice words. When you, for instance, want to have a certificate of your watch, of your car, your driver's license, or the real estate title, in the future, this can all be represented as NFTs. Even the word is always associated with the more funny stuff in regarding that, like the monkey pictures. But the technology itself and the purpose of it will be more widely used in the near future than the DAOs, asset-backed tokens, and all this kind of native investment products will play a much bigger role in the second half of this decade. But the essence of this slide is that currently we look at it, well-known investment structures will be digitized with the help of the blockchain technology. And why is that actually beneficial is a big question I get often, because people understand, okay, now if we have something digital, why should I care? Is it not good? I have my old system, I can use it. So why is it relevant actually for the market overall? Because the world is global. I see the blockchain as a global network, and I have a lot of potential clients and interested parties who approach me from emerging markets where they are a leader in their field, maybe, let's say, a real estate developer in a smaller city, somewhere in an emerging market, who has a long reputation, but currently the interest rates were rising because of the inflation and so on. So the financing costs get higher and higher and higher. Sometimes political reasons, whatever can be the reasoning behind that. And so they need to look for alternative financing. They want to reach out to investors in various markets of this world, which are completely different. And the blockchain is allowing them to enter into new liquidity to find investors from everywhere around the world. And the investors have the opportunity to do more with their tokens. So when we look at now the potential client from an emerging market, they, for instance, can tokenize or create an investment product, like I showed before. Let's assume a tokenized security listed on our marketplace, but they can also go further. They can list it with distribution partners in the traditional financial system who can offer this security in a traditional way or in a tokenized way. On they can list it on digital asset exchanges where they can trade, even open it up for trading between investors. And also in DeFi. So when you are an investor and you have acquired this tokenized security, you can use it as collateral. You can use it in smart contracts. You can basically finance your next investment or something else with this newly created digital investment product. So overall, by digitizing into those investment products, and let's stick with the assumption of a tokenized security, which is finding a real estate development, the investors do not only have the investment purpose left, but they can do more with those tokenized and digital investment products. And since we also want to be a little bit practical and not only theoretical, I also brought this slide to show you a little bit how we are approaching things. Because referring now back to our potential client, the real estate developer,
Daniel,
you can see.
sorry to interrupt you. Can you just check your shared screen, because that slide's not coming up? Can you just check on your side?
Yeah, what do you see?
We're seeing you just now.
Okay, going back to Zoom. I see you.
Yeah, we see you. Just this slide that you're talking about. We can't see that.
I'm sorry for that.
That's okay.
Let's do it again. Did you see the previous slides, or you just heard me speaking?
No, we heard you speaking, and then when you were talking about a slide there, I wanted to jump up because we couldn't see it.
Okay, then. I hope I could transfer the message sufficiently, but that's now the slide I wanted to refer to. Do you see it now?
There's no slide yet.
But maybe then, and to not waste the time, I can guide you through what I wanted to say verbally instead of visually, and I hope we can also maybe jump into a question later and use that time to explain it in more detail.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can continue. It's just for some reason it's not sharing the screen.
Okay, as long as you don't see any other stuff besides me, that's also fine.
No, that's all right. Just continue.
Okay. So let me try to make it more explain it more visually to you. So when you would have had the chance to look at the slide, you would see on the left-hand side there's this prospect or potential real estate manager who needs to look for an alternative financing source. And they will be looking at the process in various steps. So firstly, there's a process step where they actually need to structure the investment opportunity, some kind of as a financial product. So that is step one. This can be done, or we do it mostly via Luxembourg, because Luxembourg has a very friendly regulation for tokenization as well as securitization. So we securitize, we create a security out of an investment product, which then we tokenize. So therefore, the investors, or we have created a new tokenized security, which then can be listed on the marketplace. So that's the primary issuance, because it's the first time we, or actually the real estate developer, is collecting funds for the purpose of investing the investment opportunity. That's where also the investors come into play, since they now have the opportunity to buy those tokens via a marketplace. So they can basically buy them via cryptocurrencies on a smart contract where they swap stable coins or USDC, for instance, for the token. The other option is to buy them via fiat. So the issuer of the security, the entity which has created the security, is then accepting the fiat payment on a bank account and transferring the token to the wallet infrastructure of the investor. This can also happen because the investment product is digital via distribution partners that digital investment product is listed on various marketplaces at the same time, like dual listing or co-listing, in order to raise capital, for instance, from various jurisdictions. And in our case, we have distribution partners in various countries in the world which are licensed there. And therefore, they have access to a different investor network, which is then helping in the end, let's say the real estate developer has financed its investment opportunity with the help of tokenization. Then comes another part. What happens actually after, which is very relevant and hardly spoken about, is because we have now a digital investment product, the data of the investment product is digital. It can be stored or should be stored on the blockchain. And this data can be enriched now with the asset data. So for instance, data about the real estate asset itself, maybe the investors, or some other kind of data which is relevant to the overall stakeholders in this investment opportunity. And because of that, the tokenization has created a completely digital life cycle. Raising capital with the tokenization, managing the investment opportunity with the help of the digital tokens and the players involved in that, and also enriching this investment opportunity with tokenized data or data in general creates a completely digital investment process and experience for investors, but also helping asset managers or real estate managers to be much more transparent than in the past. Since there's more to it than just building a tokenization engine and doing tokenization. In our case, we need to have the whole value chain digitized, various parties which need to work together. We always call it like a clockwork where every wheel needs to fit into each other, because those are the real estate data, for instance, gets digitized by prop techs or property technology companies. You need to have some traditional real estate companies involved who do perform services of data management, contracting, and so on. But also, for instance, for the SPV management, like the management of the entities who are actually involved in the whole process. You need to have licenses to perform the primary markets, sale, secondary market trading, and so on. So basically, everything which needs to be done in connection with the investors, you need to be licensed. And you need to have a lot of fintechs, blockchain companies to perform those services like tokenization, smart contract auditing, and all those relevant topics which are necessary to really have a trustworthy investment process and lifecycle management process for the real estate manager, but also for the investor. And that's what we have built at StegX, that we have built an ecosystem, you can call it, which combines all of those actors and players in one solution, which allows them to really cover the whole life cycle, from when you onboard the deal to the primary market, then to the asset servicing, so everything what happens after the primary market sales, to the secondary trading. So having everything, the whole value chain in one platform, that's what we did at StegX. What we have also seen is very relevant to the market, because otherwise you need the investors or the real estate managers, as an example here, need to find solutions for everything, integrate them technically, and that's very challenging from them because of the lack of know-how and also sometimes the regulatory components, which make the life of everybody more complex, but also more trustworthy. So I would be now at the end of let's say, what I wanted to explain to you guys. I hope it fit. I think it fit into the 20 minutes, more or less. And I remember there was also some kind of Q&A.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Now we're gonna ask you some questions. So I'm gonna turn the laptop so you can see the audience. And actually, anyone who wants to ask a question has to unfortunately come to the laptop. I'm gonna ask the first two questions. In which countries can people use your platform, and like in which countries have like a favorable regulation that basically allows tokenization? Because from what I understand, it's quite hard here in Scotland. It's very tricky because we have to use like an ancient land register, and from what I understand, this is not really I don't know if it's impossible, but it makes it very hard to tokenize. And second question, oh yes, can someone basically, it's fractionalization. Someone says, okay, I can't afford to buy this like 5 million. I just want to buy 1%. So someone say, oh, I want to buy 1% here, like in Malaysia, 1% in China, 1% in Scotland. Can someone just buy like a tiny bit of properties in different countries? So fractionalization, can you tell us about these two?
So yes, happy to explore. So, which I didn't cover, which I just realized is one topic is that when we look at real estate tokenization now in practice, it's hardly that you tokenize the real asset so that you become the owner in the land register. So it's more that the real estate tokenization you see right now is referred to as creating some kind of investment product for the holder of the real estate. So that's mostly an entity like a special purpose vehicle, an SPV, which is then financing their operations with the help of the tokenization. So creating a security, a bond or something, which they tokenize in order to raise capital. So this also leads to the second question. You do not need to buy the whole property at once, but you can buy fractions because those securities or those financial products, they can be denominated in smaller units. So therefore, theoretically, it's like €1 per unit. So you could get starting to become an investor with €1, even lower, but then it does not make too much sense. So I hope that answered the question.
Okay, so any more questions? Please go forward, ask the laptop, ask the question. Do this exercise.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. What happens when there's a catastrophic requirement for capital input? So, for instance, an unforeseen but major, let's call it a repair or maybe a compulsory upgrade to properties required.
Yeah. So I'm thinking how to answer to that because it's a very relevant question. In the end, when you look at it from what I explained or tried to explain is it's an alternative source of financing. So you can say it's similar to a bank loan on which provides you a specific amount of financing for a specific purpose. That's what the tokenization also is doing in practice the most. So if there's an additional need for capital, then it's in the discretion of or it's a responsibility, sorry, of basically the real estate manager who's performing this alternative financing to raise more capital to perform the operations they need and also to basically pay for whatever is necessary to be upgraded in an asset or where they need more money for. So therefore, the token itself is collateralized mostly by the real estate asset. So there's a legal obligation and the duties to also perform the real estate management as it should be. So similar like investment funds, where they have the same, like it's very similar that then they need to go out and raise more capital.
Another question?
Hi, Daniel. So I wanted to know about you explained how there's a digital life cycle of prospective investment opportunities where data of individual investors is also tokenized. So I wanted to understand, have you considered or confronted any privacy issues in that regard? Because given that, I mean, you do have AI-based, like integration of AI with blockchain. So that could be a prospective leak of data or a possible breach. Are there any privacy implications? And if so, do you have any, is there any solution, market solution that would be implementable into your system?
Privacy is it's in the end, what you see on a blockchain is the wallet address and who's holding which kind of tokens. And since we are operating in a licensed way, that means that the investor onboarding the data of the investor needs to be stored GDPR compliant. So therefore, when it comes to the measurements, how to stay privacy, to save the privacy of the investors, it is ring-fenced by the licensed parties who are performing the services. Let's say a custodian or a broker-dealer, like the brokerage service. But the blockchain itself is not used for exchanging privacy data. When there's a leak where somebody finds out who the wallet belongs to because of a hack or something else, then they would need to hack into the licensed partner who perform those services, but it's not that they can hack the blockchain and extract the information there.
So just to be clear, you've essentially, the system that you've created in terms of tokenization of investments on blockchain, that entire system is GDPR compliant on Web3.
It's not, you can say it's not Web3, because Web3 would assume a decentralization and almost no intermediaries.
Yes.
Whereas it's Web 2.5, like improving the existing financial landscape with a new tool which connects investors on a global scale with the help of the blockchain technology. So when it would be Web 3, it would be much more complicated.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any more questions? We have 2 more minutes for questions. Our next speaker has been all right, okay, I'm gonna ask the final question. So, which is kind of like anticipation of the next talk, which is going to be about liquidity providers. So, obviously on the web, you said it's like between Web 2.5, but I mean the efficiency of markets on the blockchain is actually only partially due to humans. It's mostly due to bots, and bots that process lots of information. And when humans are lazy, sleep, then bots buy and sell things. So in this case, to buy even like a fractional property, someone has to be a human being. You say, okay, I'm a human being. I'm in this country. I'm in this country, so I'm allowed legally to even buy it. And then so is this still true? It's still permissioned, like where we are now. It's still permissioned. You have to be in a country where you're allowed to be an investor, and you have to be a human being. You have to show a KYC, AML, and only then you're allowed to buy. It's not yet that basically that the intelligent bot says, aha, here's an opportunity. The humans are too lazy, they haven't actually found it, so I'm going to make the bid. So can you tell us about this?
Yes, so in the end, it's a KYC, no, that's for persons, and KYB. It is possible already today that you onboard an entity who is maybe using very advanced trading and data services to find good investment opportunities. But the practice looks that you even cannot find a market maker for tokenized real estate or something like that. So that's a little bit far away. Theoretically, when you look at it just from the theory, it could be possible that once the market grows in the next years, that those arbitrage opportunities get exploited by players who really work on that, especially when you look at the secondary market where somebody needs to sell something, similar like NFTs. Yeah, also in the hype, many people or many bots traded NFTs or somehow. Was it the best idea for everybody? I don't know. Will it be somebody will try it sooner than later? Yeah, for sure.
All right. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much for your talk. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Bye. Good night. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.